Blackburn George, Gooners, football fans, welcome to the post-ham edition of the Positively Uncensored Arsenal podcast. How are you, George?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm fine, George. I am very happy after our win at West Ham.
You
And
know,
although we can discuss the football, but we're closer to our hands on the top four trophy, George.
yeah.
But as you can see on the ticker at the bottom of this, George, it was an ugly win, in my opinion. And Arteta confirmed this himself. In fact, I'm literally quoting him, George, and I'll bring this up for the viewers. Today we won ugly, Arteta said to Arsenal media. It's really a good phrase that I learned in this country, and I think it is true. I think today we won in a different way. We did not win the game in the way that we played against Manchester United, for example. But it is equally important or more important to win this game because we have played three big games and won three of them. George, do you concur with Mikel?
Do I bollocks?
Why am I not surprised?
Look, we won ugly is a polite way of putting it. We were shit. And so was the opposition. And I think that's the reality. You texted me the other day or direct messaged me yesterday asking me if I could do the player ratings. And to be honest, Shotta, I could have done. But I thought, no, why should I look like a fucking miserable bastard? Because I would have done. Because the player ratings would have reflected that nobody, apart from maybe El Neni, Rob Holding, and Eddie, I think they were all right. Everybody else had a poor game. And the Deadwood players that Arsenal lumbered the club with pulled it out for us. You know, it was a poor game of football. West Ham was shocking. They've never won a game after a European game yet. That's a fact. They've not won one yet after a European game. They'd had a European game. They dropped some of the better players. And it was a shocking game of football. It was, I say shocking. I've seen worse, but not many, and not many by Arsenal. It was horrible watching. And if that's winning ugly, you can keep it. I don't want to watch ugly football. I want to watch good football. So that's why I didn't do the player ratings, because it would have just made me look like I was being very down on the team and down on Arteta. Although I'm happy to win, and I hope we get top four like everybody else. It'll be great. But don't give me any of this shit about, we found a different way to winning. We won 2 set pieces, 2 centre-backs scored, bad defending by fucking West Ham, and created very little else. We could have scored a couple maybe on the break when they were pushing us and we were pinned in our own half, and we had a couple of good chances to beat them on the counter. People will say that we sat back and played to win on the counter. No, we didn't. We didn't sit back. Once again, we were forced back. There's a difference between sitting back and being forced back. And we couldn't do fuck all to get going. So that's not sitting back. That's fucking being forced back. It was a horrible game of football. And if I never see another one like it in my life, I won't mind a bit.
George, my feeling was that during the game is that we're going to see a lot more games like this going in the next 4 games that we have. Look, exactly.
The thing is, the score always skews your people's idea of the game. If we had lost that game 2-1, which we could easily have done because it was, two shitty goals we got. We could easily have lost that game. But if we'd have played exactly the same as we did, but lost, no better, no worse, but lost, everybody would have been fucking up on arms saying it was a fucking shit game and how bad we played. But because we won, everybody's quiet. Everybody's just accepting that it's okay to play that bad, and because we won. Well, I suppose in some ways it is, but not for me. Not really. It's not. I want to watch good football, and I don't want to watch that.
George, people are going to say you're a miserable git. They have a very
I am a miserable git. People will be right. You know, that's not in question, Shotta. That's a given.
That's a given. But you know, George, I'm going to bring up the basic statistics that the Premier League website always does. I'm not dipping deep. This is not a deep dive. Never has been. Just trying to give, a flavor of what happened. And I highlighted the data to me that was most interesting. West Ham had more possession, despite the fact that they made so many changes, and they looked very fluent and threatening at times. They had periods which they dominated. But what struck me, George, is lower down in the stats. They're like 100 more touches and over 100 more passes. This is West Ham. I suppose on our side, though, George, we had more shots and more shots on target. Your thoughts on these stats as you look on them?
Well, it just emphasizes what I said. We had some good chances on the break because we were forced to play on the break, and we didn't control the game in any way, shape, or form. Did we defend well? Not really. I thought Gabriel was really ropey early on. He gives the ball away. I don't trust him on the ball at all. Tavares, fucking hell. I don't mind him not being that bad at a defender. He might improve that. And he might improve his composure in front of goal. But he passes the ball. It's not so much the accuracy of passing, it's his choice of pass. He passes to players that are marked, that can't go anywhere, that can't do anything to keep the ball. They haven't got time to take a touch and pass it on. He's given it the hospital passes if they were going to put a tackle in, but the lose possession passes every time. Although he doesn't physically lose possession because he's passed it to somebody, the guy that he's passing it to has no chance of keeping it. And that's not the sort of thing that players improve. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That's not a technical thing. That's his mind. And we're going to say he's all of a sudden going to start thinking more clearly in the future. So he's a problem. The Emperor looked well below his best.
But he looked a little better. I don't know. He looked a little bit. Well, his duel with Ben Rama, he usually came out on top. That's what.
He's injured again as well, by the way.
Yeah. Well, there's on your website, on your blog, there's a very strong group of your followers who feel that Ben Rama and Partey, not Ben Rama, Tomiyasu and Partey are so, no, that's not Tomiyasu. Tierney and Partey are so injury prone that we should be looking at more sturdy replacements. But I'm just bringing, I know you're aware of it, but I just want to share it with the audience.
Well, you can add Partey into that.
Yes, I wanted to, but So but we have and Tommy just went down. And by the way, George, and you're right. I mean, Tommy at this at his Italian club, what was it, Genoa or whatever the name is, he was injury prone there as well. If my memory serves me right, listeners, you can put some in the comments here. But he was an injury prone player. I don't know, George. I mean, it's
he's got funny shaped legs anyway, hasn't he?
Yes. And you remember Arson used to, you know, speak about players who have a certain body shape and it causes injuries. Who was he talking about? I kind of can't remember. I remember when Jack and Ramsey used to favor the leg that was injured and it was causing more injuries. You recall?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But go ahead, George.
No, I've done me. I've nothing else to say on the matter. I think we're right. We've got three injury-prone players there that it's unlikely that they're ever going to not be injury-prone. And
Can you imagine playing?
it's
Can,
not like the world beaters. Do you know what I mean?
yes.
If you got an injury-prone Robin van Persie, an injury-prone Diaby, you
Yes.
stick with them because if
Right.
they come good, you've hit gold. You've hit the jackpot. But if these three come good, what have you got? You got a decent left back, a decent right back, and a half decent centre mid.
Well, you know, George, you're right. You know, I mean, Wenger had a injury-prone Thomas Rosicky, and all he did was play for big games, and we would win, especially if it was Spurs. He would just drag him out of Cottonwood and say, "Okay, you're gonna play this game. This is the game you're gonna win for us." Do you recall?
I do, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You can stick with injury-prone players if the reward justifies keeping them. But these three, decent and subpar, probably.
Let's call him above average. Above average. Just about above average. Average above average, I would say. Not great players. But of course, George, when we say that, you know, this is contrary to the narrative.
I'm not bought into the Emperor, really.
Yeah. Wait.
I don't think he's an above average player in the Premier League by any stretch.
Well, that's
He might be above our average of nobody or Cedric.
Cedric, yes.
Or nobody. He's above our average, but I wouldn't say he's above average for the Premier League.
George, you're stirring up a lot of alternate ideas in my mind. I mean, the point you are making is that the average blogger tweeter's idea of a great player doesn't doesn't concur with yours, doesn't comport with yours, and even doesn't comport with Arsene Wenger's, for instance. If you see what I mean people are making these players, putting them on pedestals, and to the contrary, a player as Scout Ehab says, like a Hector Bellerin who goes to Betis and is tearing up, we don't have any respect for him right across the board. I see people tearing into Ehab when he says, look at what Hector is doing at Betis. Why, George? Tell me.
I don't know. You know, it's a strange phenomenon, isn't it?
Yes.
We big our players up for a while, you know, and then the good players that we do have, we big them down. It's the opposite.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have great players like Ozil and Aubameyang and all of us, and we dismiss them and say they're rubbish. Xhaka's clearly our best player at the moment and most important player. And he either gets a look in, although he did get Fans Player of the Month.
Yes. George.
That's
all because he scored a goal, George, against a very...
I know. I mean, that's the level of analysis of our fans. You hit a ball from outside the box and it goes in top bins and you get Player of the fucking Month. You know, he can be shocking for the rest of the fucking time. Not that Xhaka was. I think he was Player of the Month. But I think he's Player of the Month most months.
Yeah. I want to say, George, to the audience, and that's one of the reasons why I do this, because I just do not think, I have not much respect for the analysis of a lot of our top bloggers and so on. I just don't. It doesn't comport with reality, and that is why, even as we are fighting for top four, it is perhaps the most mediocre top four fight. Our good friend Paul N, says the three teams are doing their best not to come forth. And I can't disagree with him. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's whoever gets there is going to be the best of a really bad bunch because United, Spurs, us, we've had some shocking runs and shocking displays. But laughable. And I mean, when I say laughable, I don't mean us laughing at it, other teams laughing at us that we've been that bad. And we've done it to other teams as well. We've laughed at Manchester United. We've laughed at Spurs. We've laughed at Leicester because they've been so bad. But they've not been much worse than us if they've been worse than us at all by the end of the season. So the analysis going on is it's weird at the moment. It's so skewed to this Arteta in or out argument. I mean, I saw something yesterday. It seems to be this new thinking, and I thought I can't get my head around this. It's like, hasn't Arteta done well, given how bad the squad is, which he's built and he's fucking responsible for? So we want to give him credit for doing well with a shit squad and bad players that he's signed. I don't understand that. Why does he get credit for that? Look at the fucking signings that we were talking about being 6 out of 6 in the summer, how great it was. Some of them can't even get a minute's playing time anymore.
H. Lehman's a good friend of this podcast. Makes a point that Arteta has a seminal achievement of having 3 loss succession, 2 spate of 3-game losses in a season. And he says that never happened pre-Wenger. That never happened prior to this. It was pre-Wenger. That's the measure of the quality of the team. It's not surprising we can easily lose games that we have won. In my opinion,
but it's as I just said. The score dictates the analysis.
Yes.
Did we win? We must have played all right. There's no looking beyond that. And it's the same with this. We're 4th. Oh, that's good then. We must be doing well.
Yes.
There's no analysis. Are we doing well? Are we really doing well? Have you watched us play this season? How many games have we played well in? How often do we have to fucking hope that the opposition plays absolutely crap that we can win? And there's no nuanced analysis of it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm not. You look at it'll be great if we get 4th, but fucking hell, we've been poor. We've been poor, Shotta, in so many respects. It's painful watching it. It's so not fun to watch. Apart from the odd game, which, even if you were a Burnley fan, you'd get the odd game where they played well.
Well, George, that doesn't all go well for us. By the way, George, talking about really the nuance analysis, I mean, I looked at one of the, prior to this podcast, one of the big blogs. I'll leave you to guess. And, contrary to like most of the people on your blog, the posters on your blog, they're celebrating Nuno. Nuno is a great, will come good. But the thing that I noticed, and that's what I want to bring it in, is that West Ham attacked Nuno Tavares. They identified him as the weak link in the chain. And I went to whoscored.com because they usually have a graphic as to where the attacks are coming. And West Ham attacked us 46% of the time on the right side, on their right side, which is Nuno Tavares' side. And I don't know if you noticed that Saka had to help him. What's his name? Xhaka had to help him. And you made the point earlier. And yet we have the biggest blogger of all saying, Nuno was okay.
Because the score is skewed by the score. It was awful.
Yes.
But it's not his fault.
No.
I'm not going to blame the kid. You know, he's inexperienced. He was never a good defender. We've
Yes.
set up to defend, basically, gone to West Ham to defend. Although, why we should be going to West Ham and defending against them rather than attacking them is beyond me. You know, that again, that's not what I want to see. But can you blame West Ham for targeting him?
Of course not.
No.
That's what you do. That's basic management. When I was going to school with when I was a youth, that youth football, that's what we did.
Of course, you look for the weak point, don't
right.
you? You attack the weakest point. It's
right.
Sun Tzu would have told us that if you read The Art of War.
Strategic expert, right?
Yeah, you go for the weakest point.
Yes.
And we should have known that, and we probably did know that. Like you say, he did get helped out, but I mean, he went missing from that left back area umpteen times. You know, there was acres of space for them in that area that he vacated.
Yes.
It was just a poor game.
What
do you think?
Sorry,
Did you
George,
think
say
it
that
was
again.
a poor game of football?
Say that again, George.
Did you think it was a poor game of football?
I think it was turgid. I think we just sat deep and countered. And I was like, you know what? At this stage of the game, this is the points that count.
Oh.
But this is, you can get trapped in that way of playing, George. And what struck me, I'm going to say what went through my mind. I could remember Chelsea under Mourinho playing this kind of negative target football, getting results. And the fans just said the following year, even after he won, saying, we need to see better football. That's what went through my mind. And I was like, I don't want Arsenal to be trapped in this way of playing. That was absolutely what went through my mind. And even to this day, you know, my concern is, yeah, we might get top 4, but can you imagine taking this team into the Champions League and playing 2 games a week? I shudder to think, and that's what I care about. Not, you know, and I want us to get to the top 4, but I shudder to think what this can do in terms of a style of play. I don't, you know, maybe I'm thinking too far. I guess that's one of my weaknesses. Your thoughts on this, George?
Yeah, well, it's the age-old thing that once again you look past the results and at the performance. Eventually, results are reflected by performances, and we have to play better. We just have to play better. You know, regardless of what the score is, you look at us playing and you think, really? You know, but people will go back to it. Yeah, but if we get 4th, they can bring in better players and they can do this, they can do that. Well, you can't look forward and think this way of playing is going to get us success.
That's my fear.
I just don't see it. And you can't think Spurs and United are going to be this bad forever. They've got to get better.
Spurs look very good against Leicester, George.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the highlights actually.
No, I haven't even seen the highlights because I was that fucking. I tell you honestly, the hardest part of watching our game against West Ham for me was keeping my eyes open and not falling asleep. I honestly thought I was going to nod off. I thought to myself, I'm going to have to pause this game, have a bit of a sleep here, and try it again later on. It was so horribly, unbelievably boring that I couldn't focus on the. I couldn't. It was one of those, you know, where you're there but you're not there. It was like, oh, you know, when you read a book and you get to the end of the page and you think, what the fuck was that? What have I just read? And you have to go back and read it again.
Right. Because you got
that was like me watching the football. I was watching it and I think 10 minutes later, I have no idea what happened because there's nothing happened. There's nothing worth watching. It was fucking horrible.
Yet there's so much triumphalism amongst the fan base. George, One of the things that strike me, we say it again, and Scout Ehab would perhaps, if he was here, emphasize this. Holding scored and played. We didn't miss Ben White. Let's put it that way. Were left free in the box for that corner and nodded it into the far corner so that the goalkeeper couldn't reach that. And that block that he put somewhere in the second half on that was a shot that was goal bound. He didn't put a foot wrong to me. He only cost us $50,000, but Ben White cost us 53
million. He cost
50. What's that?
2 million. He cost
2 million. Is it 2 million? It was 2 million when defenders are going for 50 million, right? Yes, I think it's that.
2 million.
Yes, but Mr. White cost us 53 million pounds. And then it cost us only 12.5 million euros. Party cost us 40 million euros. Ehab says he's, we waste money. Don't you think, George?
Yeah, and then you got 73 million pound Pepe doesn't get a kick of the ball. Comes back from the African Cup of Nations on a high, having been one of the players of the tournament, and can't get a kick of the ball. So it's a bit depressing for me, though. But if we get fourth, blah 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 blah, everybody will forget it. But to me, if we get fourth, it's a bit like a guy winning the lottery and then telling you how good he is at playing the lottery. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yes, George, he's gonna go broke. He's gonna go broke in another year or two because he keeps throwing that money back in the lottery and he's gonna lose it.
Yeah, you've won.
Yes.
But don't tell me you were good at playing the fucking lottery, mate. Your numbers just came up. Well, I think that's a bit like Arsenal. I mean, we might win this fourth place, but a lot of the credit's got to go for whoever picked the numbers out.
George, and our audience. Well, the thing that I keep thinking about this little podcast that is we are having problems getting the notifications out. I have no idea. We publish, but there's no spin, there's no narrative. We just tell it like it is, and just want you to urge you to like and subscribe and share. You may not agree with us, but we think we've been right more than we've been wrong. But we don't know everything, and I think there's too many of you who like our point of view. Share this some more, like and subscribe. Georgie, you want to add anything more to that?
No, just have fun enjoying Arsenal at the moment.
Well, it's going to be hard going.
You've got to take advantage of the situation. And I think we're doing that. And I can't get my head around this idea that, we're building something special. What the fuck's special about what we watched on Saturday afternoon?
Well, let's see how special it is against Leeds next. Is it Sunday, I think?
Oh, we've got to beat Leeds. Christ almighty.
They're just one step away from the drop zone, George.
And they've got more injuries. Christ, they're decimated. They can't win a fucking game. The bottom of the league. We've got to beat Leeds.
City must give them a hiding.
Well, they did in the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Leeds tried hard. I watched that game. You see, that's a game that I could watch because you're liable to see some good football when Manchester City are playing. So I watched that, and I thought Leeds applied themselves well. And if they do like that against us, it'll be a difficult game. But they're so short of players. I mean, I think Bielsa might have to come back and play.
George, the other game I watched yesterday, and I watched it quite a bit, was Everton against Chelsea, in which they won 1-0.
How bad was Chelsea?
Huh?
How bad were Chelsea?
Yes, I think it was a shocking goal. I mean, their captain, what you may call it, just turn a ball in the direction of Richarlison and just pass it to the goal. But George, Everton is fighting for their life. I was surprised by the spirit of their fans and the way in which they approach the game. And that's our last game, by the way. I don't look forward to it, but it's 3 games away. But I don't know about you, but I'm not looking forward to Everton fighting to avoid the drop and playing us. And they beat us before, by the way.
And Leeds are the same, by the way.
Yes. So my point here before we end is there's quite a few battles. The good thing is that the Spurs are going to play Liverpool, who are not going to let them get out of town without getting some points. I mean, you said they'd probably drop points at Liverpool, correct?
Yeah, I said that's like a game in hand for us.
Yes, I remember that. So anyway, George, we have a lot to look for. You need to keep your eyes open.
Well, let's hope we do it. I mean, let's not be too negative. Let's hope we do it. But
yes,
and I'll be happy if we do it. I want us to do it. Yes. But don't fucking tell me we've done well to do it. We've profited from circumstance.
Yes. Well, if we're honest with ourselves, which is
we've won the lottery, but we're not good lottery players.
On that note, George, I'll bring this pod to an end.
Like and subscribe, you bastard.
Bastards, you. All right. Thank you, George.
All right. See you.
Bye. Yeah.